It's a bit of a spooky environment here, but in this video I want to talk about how to have fun, like how to make your days fun. Even when you're going to school, you've got these obligations, how do you make your days fun? Because I look back in my life at all the different periods, and I guess you could say I had different levels of fun in all of them. And it's very counterintuitive what were considered the fun times in my life. Like I look back to, for example, the old summer holidays that I used to have back in high school in like 2017, those kind of years. And you'd think from the outside, it looked like the most fun times ever. It was like I was free all day long to do whatever I wanted. I was literally playing video games for an hour a day. I literally had full freedom. But these were some of the most boring times of my entire life. And in this video, I'm not going to talk about like dopamine detox or something like that, but I've got two principles that I want to mention that I think can really make your days much more fun, and I've discovered made my days much more fun. And these days, I have more fun than ever, to be honest. Because I used to think, to have a fun life, you had to be like traveling or some shit, like you had to go to like a bunch of different countries. You had to, like stuff you see on social media, like these guys are flexing their cars and all this stuff. And not gonna lie, maybe that stuff will be fun. Like I love going on holidays, it's amazing. But I think it goes deeper than this. The two principles that I think to make your days much, much more fun is boredom tolerance and some kind of like project or mission that you're working on. And I'm gonna explain these in depth, how you can actually practically start doing these two things to make your days much more fun. Now maybe there's other factors to make your days fun, but these are two simple things that you can literally start doing. So the first thing, boredom tolerance. So basically, I think one of the biggest things that will literally improve your life quality is your ability to tolerate boredom. So there's this quote that I really like. It's like, all of man's problems stem from his inability to sit alone in a room. And basically, I think if you can be comfortable being bored, you're literally invincible. Because imagine this, imagine you were comfortable literally being bored. You would find studying way more fun, because studying is at least doing something. You're not just sitting there being bored. Like, I've gotten to the point now where literally if you told me, go sit in that room alone for 1 hour and do nothing, I would be fine with that, to be honest. Like, it wouldn't be that difficult. But I've talked to so many people, and literally they cannot sit alone in a room for 10 minutes without being so painfully bored that they have to leave the room. And this is not like, I'm saying this because I used to be like this. I remember when I first started like trying meditation. It was like early 2022. I literally would put the timer on for 5 minutes. And every time I sat down to do it, after like 1 minute, I would just stand up and just turn off the timer because I got so bored. So here's the thing. Basically, if you can increase your tolerance to boredom, not only will your days become much more fun, because basically everything is fun relative to boredom, right? Because as human beings, we see things relative to each other. So if you can enjoy literally just sitting in a room being bored, literally everything in your day will become much more fun. And I'll tell you how to practically do this, but literally, I love to like walk around in nature. I can take a shower without music, which most people can't. Bro, I don't get bored at all these days, because sometimes I'll be watching a movie and I'll not enjoy it at all, and my mind will like not be able to pay attention because I'll be so bored of the movie. But I won't be bored sitting there, because I'll be so comfortable with boredom that I'll be able to entertain myself in my own mind. And I'll get back to this later, how I do this. It goes on to the second point, which is like having a mission, a kind of project in your life. But basically, what you need to do is you need to have these times in your day where you literally practice being bored and practice enjoying it. Now it's gonna seem lame, it's gonna sound like really boring, but that's kind of the point. So literally, what I personally do is like a couple times a week, I will just block out like an hour where I'll just sit down on my desk chair and I'll like stare at my wall. And during those periods, sometimes I'll like contemplate, I'll like come up with, quite a few times of the week, I just have times where I just think, and I think of like, for example, ideas for my business or my YouTube or whatever. But other times I'll literally just sit there and stare at my wall and see what happens. And you'll have like a lot of realizations, like a lot of stuff will just come up. Like at first you might be like, oh shit, my room is a mess. Or you might be like, oh shit, I've been skipping the gym for ages. Because the problem is like we always distract ourselves, so we never give ourselves time to realize these things that we're missing in our life. So if you can literally like take some time during your day to tolerate boredom, trust me, everything will become so much more fun. Because I used to think the solution was dopamine detox, like stop doing drugs, stop watching porn, stop eating junk food. And yeah, stopping that stuff, because like, bro, I don't eat junk food that often or do any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, it does make your days much more fun because you're not doing these like high dopamine activities which are causing you to feel like cravings all day long, which just makes everything boring. That is 100% effective. But I think the more effective thing is just to be able to tolerate boredom. So literally, for example, you could make a rule to yourself, you don't use your phone on the toilet or something. But if you're brave, then have periods where you sit down and literally just stare at your wall. But here's the thing, I know most people watching this video, probably 99% of people, are not even gonna do this for 10 minutes a week because we are so uncomfortable being bored. If any of us sit down and like tell ourselves, okay, we're not allowed to do anything, we literally start getting itchy. We start going, oh shit, but there's stuff to do, bro. I got a test next week. I gotta work on this thing. I gotta, contact these people. We start getting uncomfortable because like we got stuff to do. Or we start getting uncomfortable because we want to be stimulated. We want to go on our phone. We want to go play video games. We want to do drugs or something. So if you can practice resisting being bored, this will also improve your focus, by the way, because one of the reasons why you can't focus is because you sit down to try to focus on something difficult. And your mind will want to start doing like video games and go on your phone and shit like that. It's getting bored. So if you can tolerate being bored, actually also, in a weird way, your focus will improve. So that's the first thing, how to make your days more fun. Simply tolerate being bored. And bro, trust me, going to the park and like sitting down and listening to the birds will become fun as fuck. Like I would rather do that than like be in a sports car or something, but that's just me, Maybe some guys would rather be in a sports car, but now I'm not saying like don't have those like peak experiences. Like 100% I'd love to go on these amazing trips. I want to go to, Taiwan next year, travel, learn Chinese, go on these adventures. That's all fun and great. But I'm also happy to literally just sit in a room and stare at my wall for an hour. So literally, imagine that. Imagine you're some guy who can stare at his wall and he's happy. He's having fun. Like, I wouldn't say you're having fun. It's not like you're playing a video game, like staring at your wall, like, oh, bro, this is so fun. But you're content. Maybe that's a better word. And that kind of links to the second point here. Another thing that helps me having fun all day is, I think this is the biggest thing, to be honest, having some kind of project, some kind of mission that you're working towards in your life. So these days, I really love working on my YouTube channel, which is connected to my business. I love to work on that. I'm completely like obsessed about it. And if you have this kind of project in your life where you're literally like jumping out of bed in the morning excited because you've got this project to work on, it's the last thing you're thinking about before you go to bed, then your days become much more fun. Now, you might be at a point where you don't have something like this, so you might have to enter like a period of discovering it. But for example, it can literally be anything. It can literally be anything. Like in the past, I was like super into like fitness. That would be like the last thing I thought about during the day. The first thing I would think about when I woke up. It could be your studies. I used to, read the physics textbook before bed. I used to jump out of bed in the morning to go study. So you got to find this kind of like project that means a lot to you in your life that you're working towards. Because most people don't have that, and because they don't have that, they feel this like feeling of boredom. Like I've gone through periods in my life, like lockdown 2021. I was pretty bored every day because that was the time when I started losing interest in my studies. I started realizing like, okay, studying isn't as like purposeful as it was before. But I had nothing to replace it with. So what I was doing all day was like playing video games, listening to music, sometimes doing drugs, eating junk food, this kind of stuff. And from the outside, maybe it looked like I was having fun. It was lockdown, I had pretty much no responsibilities. I even had a girlfriend. So it seemed, from the outside, it seemed like, holy cow, this guy's having a lot of fun. He's having an amazing life. But, I would wake up in the morning and I wouldn't be able to get out of bed for 2 hours. I would stay up really late because I just needed like more and more stimulation. And that, it seems fun, but it's actually not fun. It's like an illusion. It's not that fun. And these days, the funnest part of my day is literally like, recording videos, sitting in the park, doing that kind of stuff. And, or working, to be honest. Working is probably the funnest part of my day. And yeah, it is partly because I don't do those other things. But the real reason is I don't do those other things because I have something I would rather do. Like, it's not that I quit video games and then after I quit video games, I started like working on something purposeful, my business. It's that I started doing purposeful things, and naturally I lost interest in video games. I lost interest in like listening to music all day, that kind of thing. So if you have that thing that means a lot to you, essentially it's like an antidote to boredom, because you always have something to focus on, something to come up with ideas with. Like, I love being creative. I think creativity is one of like the best parts of life, but maybe I'm just programmed like that. Maybe there's some people out there who hate creativity. So by the way, this video is purely from like my experience, my specific personality type. If you resonated with anything I said, maybe this would match your personality type as well. But maybe you're someone who doesn't want to be creative. You're not a creative type. But me, I love creativity. I love that feeling of just like, walking and just having an idea pop in my head that I can implement straight away. Or just like, spending time literally sitting at my wall and thinking. Or spending time like writing and just coming up with ideas, reading, trying to come up with ideas, trying to be creative, trying to gather different ideas together and like synthesize them into a video, into, some work that I'm helping people with. I really like that kind of project in my life that I'm working on. And it doesn't have to be like a business. A business is a great thing, or a career that you're very, very, that you love a lot, that means a lot to you. But it can be like, a fitness endeavor. It can literally be anything. Like, there was like a few weeks of my life where I was super into juggling, for example. But, I can't tell you what your project that you should do in your life is, but often, yeah, it is connected to your career. It is connected to your health or something. Like, because in the end, we all have to work. As human beings, we have to work. We can't escape work. But the beautiful thing about the internet in the modern day is we have much more control of what we can do with our work. Now, I'm not saying you're going to wake up tomorrow and your work is going to be the most purposeful thing in the world, but at least you can get started on that project to make that something, a reality in your life. And I don't know what kind of tangent I'm going on now, but yeah, if you have that purposeful project you're working on in your life, you jump out of bed with energy. You go to sleep feeling great because you're like thinking about it, you're coming up with ideas about it, or you're feeling good because you worked hard during the day. Now, I'm not saying like this is a requirement to have a fun, happy life. That's not what I'm saying. I'm sure there's people out there who can be completely happy literally just doing nothing. Like maybe like, monks, for example, they probably are just happy existing. I don't know. I haven't lived the lives of those kind of people. And there are definitely people out there who are in this period where they're trying to figure out what that project would be in their life. What's that like purposeful work that they need to do? Because I'm sure I'll reach a point in my life where I lose complete interest in the projects I'm working on, and I'll need to like come up with something new. But when you have that kind of thing, for example, sometimes I go to a movie and I'll like kind of be bored of the movie, or it'll be so complex. To be honest, bro, I think I'm a dumbass because there's so many movies out there that I literally don't understand. Like, I think I saw a movie not too long ago. It was called like Tenet, I think. And bro, Tenet, and I had no clue what the fuck was going on. There was like guys traveling back in time and shit, and I was like, what is going on in this movie? I had no idea what was going on. And I just zoned out of the movie. But I was fine with that because what was going on in my head, I was like thinking about my projects that I was working on in my life. I was coming up with ideas. I was like literally enjoying it. I was constantly pulling out my phone, writing down ideas. So how can you be bored when you always have something to kind of focus and let your mind wander to throughout the day? Now, these are just two things, but at least these things have made my life way more fun than the life I used to live, where I was like chasing all the things that most people do. Most people, their idea of fun is like drugs, drinking, TV shows, listening to music all day, video games, porn, that kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, that stuff can be great from time to time, but the problem is when you make that the source of your fun every single day, like it used to be for me for a lot of my life, most of my life, that used to be my source of fun. The problem is you get used to it. Like the first time you play video games, it's like, holy shit, this is a brand new world. Like when I first got my gaming PC, I was like, holy cow, this is like, I'm gonna live in this world. I'm gonna live in the GTA Los Santos world. But then after a while, you're looking at your hundreds of games on Steam and you're like, there's nothing I wanna play. You know, you drink for the first time and it's like, holy shit, I've unlocked this new personality. But you do it for the 100th time and it's like, this is like, I'm feeling sick. You know, so the problem with that kind of fun, that kind of like, you know, normal fun that people do, hitting the vape, it's great at first, gives you an amazing high, it's super exciting, but after a while it starts to get kind of boring. And it gets boring, and when you live without it, when you try to go like a week without video games, a week without drugs, you start to crave it, you start to miss it, and like, it goes out of your life. This is why I think if you want to like actually like live a fun life, enjoy your life, you kind of have to go against what everyone around you is doing, because it's very difficult. Because I remember back in high school, all my friends were like hitting the vapes daily, they were playing the video games daily, everyone was smoking weed, everyone was drinking constantly, everyone was, you know, watching porn. If you weren't watching porn, you were seen as a weirdo. Now, I'm not here to judge anyone and say like, don't do this shit, but at least for me, for my personality type, for who I am, which I think resonates with a lot of people, the more fun lifestyle is actually to do the opposite of what most people are doing. Because if you project most people's lives forward, where they keep doing those same activities, they don't, you know, push their lives in a positive direction, where they're like going towards a career that's actually fulfilling to them and means a lot to them, you know, they're not like improving their health and stuff, then they get sucked further and further into this trap of these like things that are actually not that fun, that are just distracting. And so, you know, it can feel very painful to resist the people around you, but you kind of have to disconnect from like the script that everyone's following, where they're all seeking the same forms of fun. Now again, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm, you know, never do this stuff again. Like I do drink, you know, a couple times a year, you know, every now and then I will like crack open a cold one or whatever. I will do these things. Like I'm not demonizing them and saying they're bad or something, but making them like a daily part of your life, a frequent occurrence in your life, in a paradoxical way makes your life worse, from my personal experience. This is a bit of a side note, but I saw this like video the other day. The guy was like, time enjoyed is not time wasted. And I cannot agree with this at all. Time enjoyed is not time wasted. Okay, bro, go do heroin. Go get a heroin crack pipe right now and do heroin all day. Because hey, time enjoyed is not time wasted, right? Sure, time enjoyed can be time enjoyed. But if it's something like heroin, if it's something like video games, it comes at a cost. It's not free. If you're doing heroin, you start craving it the next day. You start sweating when you don't get it. Sure, video games, you're not going to start sweating and you're not going to start scratching yourself and like cutting out your eyes just to get another hit. But you still feel that craving. You still feel like something's missing from your life, because video games are such like a peak experience that studying, doing work, going for a walk in the park seems boring in comparison to video games. That's why I don't think time enjoyed is not time wasted. 100% time enjoyed can be time wasted, bro. Heroin exists, meth exists. But that's it. Go do an audit of the ways you're spending your time and see, are they truly adding to your life? But if not, try to focus on stuff that can actually add to your life and make your days more fun. Boom, see you later.